Hi, and welcome to Wednesday yoga class. Nice to have everybody here today. I feel like it's show and tell every Wednesday because I wanted to talk about immunity, and there's so many things we can do to increase, improve, strengthen our immune systems. Now, yoga definitely, hands down, does that in spades. But hey, there's a few other things we can also do. So I want to get rid of this stuff off my map, but dry brushing. Anybody out there do that? This is a great brush. This one isn't too hard. Obviously, if you have sensitive skin or eczema, psoriasis, or any of that stuff, no, you won't be dry brushing. But I just want to say quickly, if you have a partner who can do some dry brushing on you, great. If you don't, then that's why I have this baby here, so I can, go around the backs of my legs, etc. Just a quick note, also too, I use the exfoliating gloves because, especially after winter and indoor heating, our skin, of course, can be clogged. It's dry. So dry skin brushing exfoliates, it unclogs pores, stimulates your lymph system. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Your nervous system gets some rejuvenation. And in general, it's invigorating and energizing. So just quickly, when you dry brush, you start at your feet, start at the bottom of your feet, great, all the way up, inside of your thigh, and towards your armpit, there are clusters of lymph nodes. So always go towards your heart, but just pay special attention to inner thighs, under your armpit. This is a perfect area. I've also heard tummy and buttocks, but that's kind of the quick of dry brushing that I wanted to speak about. Now, I did mention a couple of weeks ago that you could get blocks at Dollarama. I think that's what it's called. They're all over the city. $3. They seemed pretty good. These are not from there, but if you don't have one, because before we get started too, I just wanted to give one last shout out because I am sitting on a Zabuton. This I'm using as a Zafu, but it's called a Runa. Both of these fold. This can be a bolster. I'm using this to give myself extra height. And honestly, yesterday when I meditated at home, I felt like a goddess. I felt like I was floating. So these products are both available from Real Things, until the end of the month, which is this Friday. There's 20% off everything. And after that, she's closing her retail business. So this is not a solicitation for her. This is something that I'm sharing with you because if you're thinking of, or you have a meditation practice and you're not happy with your accessories, accoutrements, this is brilliant. So this is a Zabuton. They are handmade here in Toronto. She's using fabulous fabrics. I'm going to just put it off to the side now. We don't need it anymore. And this is great too. You can put it on a chair because, often when we sit on a chair, they're not supportive. This will help lift your hips. Okay, enough about that. Real Things. Is that out of the way now? Are we good? Or is it looking like a garage sale? There we go. Okay, if you have your block, here's what I'd like to start out as. And a supported bridge pose. If you don't have a block, you're going to get yourself a cushion. If you're using the block, you're putting whatever you're using here, you're putting it underneath your sacrum. Okay? And of course, you've got your different heights, but I find the medium height just about right. Depends on your back. You can keep your knees bent here, feet flat on the floor. And once again, externally rotate your arms, turn your palms up in the open and receiving position, and just hang out here. So when we talk about immunity and yoga, it does cover all the bases, but I'll just give you a couple of ideas when we're practicing something like supported bridge, Setu Bandhasana. Because our heart now is higher than our throats, we're getting extra blood supply here and circulation to the thymus gland, which plays a powerful and important role in immunity. And your thyroid gland in your throat, of course, is the master of your metabolism. So hopefully you found a comfortable position in a supported bridge pose. Mostly we do this without support. So just anything underneath, cushions. But if you haven't got the blocks, try to get yourself a couple of blocks at the Dollarama or order them online, whatever you like. I know there are cork blocks out there. I'm not particular for them. Lots of studios have them because they're heavier, they're larger. They're fine, but I'm quite happy. You can buy foam blocks in 2 different thicknesses. This one I have is the regular, but there is a thicker version if you want that. And of course, these blocks can bring the floor closer to us when we're practicing certain postures and poses. So just spend another minute here in our supported bridge pose. Having said, if for any reason it is aggravating or causing you any pain, then you can just lie on the floor with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, the back of your neck elongated with your chin tucked in towards your chest. This should feel pretty okay, I'm hoping. Let's just lift one right leg. Well, you only have one right leg. Right leg straight up into the air. So again, this encourages blood flow that could have pooled in the ankle and legs, gives the valves of the legs a little bit of a release. And then lower that leg down. Let's lift the other leg up. I don't know if any of you have been sneezing, but sneezing is good. You're forcefully releasing all kinds of foreign substances and things. Can also, if you're back, we're just ready to go out. A sneeze could just be the thing that tips the apple cart. So, we be careful, but sneezing is excellent, releases all kinds of dander and dust and things that we've inhaled. And to that end, of course, this, as I said in my note, is the best time of year. Perhaps we can lift both legs. See if that's possible for you. Both legs up in the air now. There's more prana in the atmosphere in the spring in this part of the world, which is a great time to make sure you get outside, breathe deeply. The whole idea of breathing deeply has immense benefits, reduces stress, gets some great oxygen, pure oxygen into your lungs, and then, of course, into your bloodstream. And let's lower one leg and the other leg, and then remove whatever is underneath. Just place it off to the side. And draw your knees into your chest now. Bring them in nice and tight, giving your lower back now a little stretch. And let's do some nice, gentle, either circles, rocking, side to side, whatever feels good here. Massage your lower back. There are so many more interesting studies being done in areas of epigenetics. Now, epigenetics, if anybody read Bruce Lipton's Power versus Force, I believe he wrote. No, he wrote The Biology of Belief. The Biology of Belief. Bruce Lipton. Epigenetics. Only 1% of illness comes from our genes. Over 90% of illness has its source in stress, whether it's physical stress from poor posture or chemical and environmental stress, emotional stress, psychological stress, existential stress. It goes on and on, but just know that you're releasing. Take your arms out to the side now, shoulder height, whatever way your palms feel best, maybe down so you have a little more leverage here, and press the small of your back into the floor. Feel your transverse abdominis engaging. Let's take both knees now over to the right. Use control. Keep your left shoulder on the mat. Turn your head to the right as well. Feel that nice release through the side waist, through the oblique muscles. These are all part of your core. Inhale, come back to center. Engage your transverse abdominis. And exhale, bring both knees now over to the left, head to the right. Keep your right shoulder on the mat. Right shoulder, right arm stays on the mat. Knees are glued together. Feel your core engaging. Inhale, engage your transverse abdominis, muscle that goes sideways, your lower abs. Keep that engaged. One more time. Both knees and feet stay together as you exhale. Both knees over to the right, head to the left, left shoulder stays on the mat. So you probably went a little bit further this time. Inhale, come back to center. Feel that core engage. The slower you go, the more you engage your transverse abdominis muscles. And exhale, both knees to the left, head to the right. Keep those knees glued together. Notice again, can you get over a little bit further? And then inhale, coming back to center. And then place both feet on the ground once again with your knees bent. Bring your arms beside your body. We're just going to do a little bit of shoulder work here. Palms are facing down. Walk your feet a little bit closer to your buttocks, aligning your heels with your sits bones. And then tuck your shoulder blades underneath your heart center. Tip your chin towards the center of your chest. Press the small of your back into the floor and peel your spine off the floor, activating the fronts of your thighs, lengthening your hip flexors. Once again, getting that blood flow above the heart. Please take your arms underneath your body, interlock your fingers, knuckles point towards your heels. Please rock from side to side and bring your shoulder blades as close together as possible. The anatomical term for your shoulder blades, of course, your scapulas. Okay, so arms are as flat on the ground as can be. But if this is difficult or produces any strain in the wrists, then please release your arms and leave them off to the side. Arms should be flat on the floor. Slowly lower your torso onto your arms. So another term we're hearing something about, and just hang here for a moment, neuroplasticity. This is using your mind to change your brain. So these are the studies that I am finding super interesting. Inhale, pressing and lifting up. Our body hears every word we say and believes every thought we think. Nobody's going to track down all of their thoughts. Once again, lower your torso onto your arms. As I've mentioned many times before, we have between 50 and 75,000 thoughts a day. About 75% of them are repetitive, and a whole bunch of those repetitive thoughts are counterproductive, negative. They're not doing anything for you. These are the ones we can become aware of. Inhale, Lifting the body up once again, releasing arms from under the body, and slowly, starting from the top of your spine, bring your entire torso back down onto your mat. Right. So, just to become aware of what you're saying to yourself or anybody else. It's okay to have a rant once in a while. It's okay to say that things, suck. They're not great right now. But of course, we know there are lots of things we can be doing with our time. We can still make use of it. We have plenty to be grateful for. Place your hands underneath the backs of your thighs and let's rock up and rock on. Come on over onto all fours. Let me move some of these, my dry brushing, but really the dry brushing thing, a couple times. Whoops. Sorry about that. Just my new iPhone that I just trashed. Okay. Knees underneath your hips and hands underneath your shoulders. On an exhale, round your spine. Drop your tail, tuck your chin, pull your bellies in. On an inhale, start with your tailbone, but curl your toes under. You're lifting your tailbone, you're hollowing out your lower back, lengthening the upper, right up through the cervical vertebra. Exhale, round your spine. Pull your bellies in. Curl your toes under and inhale, hollowing out your lower back, lengthening. This should feel like a beautiful movement for your spine. Flattening the tops of your feet as you exhale. Tuck your chin, pull your bellies in. And last time, curl your toes under and hollow out your lower back. And come back into neutral. Extend your right leg out behind you. Left arm straight out in front of you. Inhale, stretch and reach. Take them out to the sides. Arm and leg out to the side. Back to the center. One more time to the side. Mobilizing shoulder, hip joints. Back in front and behind. Exhale. Bring it all down. Inhale, opposite arm and leg. Keep your eyes looking down at your mat. So you're lengthening from fingertips right through the toes. Inhale to stretch. Exhale, out to the side. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, side. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, bring it all down. And now take your knees wide apart. Big toes touching. Flatten the tops of your feet. Remember, if you get any foot cramping in this, go slow. Take your buttocks back real slow. And remember, if you need your block or a cushion to place under your head, do so. But if you can, place your forehead on the mat. Now, use your hands to press your buttocks back towards your heels and then stretch through your arms. So you've got a great stretch here for your shoulders, a lengthening of your spine, a quieting of your mind. Breathe into your side and your back ribs. And remember, sighing is excellent for letting go of stress. Once again, 90% of illness. I used to say it was 75%. They feel that up to 90% of illness now has their roots in stress. So just by practicing yoga, breathing fully, exhaling completely, you have released a ton of stress. And because trillions of cells die over just even a few minutes, those new cells that are formed are free of stress, especially the ones you're making while you're practicing yoga. Inhale, come on up. Bring your knees underneath your hips. Curl your toes under. Make sure that your fingers are spread wide apart. And remember, there's a little tip here. If you look at the wrinkles in your wrist, they should be lining up with the front of your mat. Then you know you've got good, proper alignment and support on your wrists. All right, let's lift the hips up. Keep the knees soft. Come into a soft dog. And let's pedal the feet a little bit to stretch out the backs of your legs. And let's change. So here we're getting extra blood supply to the sinuses. And we're going to talk about that because I did mention it a couple of weeks ago how humming and sound are now being discovered to be immensely strengthening for the immune system, but in particular to help us deactivate the coronavirus, if we should even have it, because it actually parks itself in your nasal passages, in your sinuses, for a few days before it enters into your lungs and throat passages. So walk your hands towards your feet. Keep your knees soft, please. Let your head hang. We're going to slowly roll up to standing, one vertebra at a time. Let your head be the last thing to come up. Oh boy. So when we talk about humming and combating the coronavirus, you put your fingers on your sinuses. Now, I've never had a sinus issue, touch wood. I'll touch the floor. So your baby fingers are close to your nose. We're going to hum a song. So you start kind of in the middle range and you start humming. And maybe, what about row, row, row your boat? I mean, whatever. Okay. So everybody knows how to hum. To just to find where the vibration is in your sinuses. I feel like that's my note, but you can, we're not going to you're going to try this after class, but it produces nitric oxide, and nitric oxide in 1992 was discovered. What did I write down? You know what? Let me find that in a moment, but I'll find it later. But it even the study on nitric oxide, so not nitrous, but nitric oxide, won a Nobel Prize for what was discovered, what it could do. It didn't win the prize, but the study about it won the prize, okay? But it's one of the most important substances in our bodies for healing and for avoiding the coronavirus. So, you know what? If you think you had exposure, 5 minutes of humming will deactivate the nitric oxide and the virus in the coronavirus. Okay. Let's come up to the fronts of our mats for sun salutations, and I'll get that exact information in a moment. Okay, so standing nice and tall, having your feet just slightly apart. Inhale, in place. Exhale, hands in prayer. Step your feet apart. Reach your arms up. Look up, reach up, and arc back. And then inhale. Bring your feet back together. Lift up out of your waist. Stretch up. Exhale. Forward fold slowly. And then let your head hang. If your fingertips aren't on the floor, bend your knees a little bit, please, but do let your head hang here. Step your right leg back, drop your knee to the mat, bring your hands onto your front thighs. And then if you want, you're going to lift that back knee off the floor, coming into a lunge. Inhale, sweep the arms up, keep your shoulders down, chest in. Rib cage in, pressing through your back heel. Turn your hands forward, spread your fingers apart, take that front foot back and draw your heart center and your thymus directly over your thumbs. Remember, you have the option of bringing your knees to the floor and then crossing at your ankles. Push up plank position. Activate your core, strengthening it by pulling your belly in. Reach through the crown of your head. Fingers spread wide apart, middle finger pointing forward. Release your knees. Flatten the tops of your feet. Keep your hands where they are. And then take your buttocks way back. Get nice and low here. Release your forearms and elbows onto the mat. Notice how this stretches the tops of your shoulders. Slowly, staying low, you're going to bring your chest and your chin onto the mat. Bum stays up in the air, whatever height you can. Slide everything out behind you. Line up your fingertips with your shoulders, forehead on the floor. Elbows tucked into your side body, and then press your forearms onto the mat. Press your hips and pelvis into the mat. Roll an invisible alley to lengthen your neck. Let's come up into Baby Bhujangasana, Baby Cobra. Feel your lower back muscles working. Breathe. Lifting up as much as you can. Strengthening these muscles helps to support the spine, both from injury and, of course, this strengthens your ability to have excellent posture with ease, whether you're sitting or standing. One more inhalation, up. Exhale, lengthen as you lower. Curl your toes under and lift your hips up. And walk your feet a few inches forward. Remember, in downward facing dog, you're getting extra blood supply into the sinuses. Pressing all 10 fingers into the mat a lot. Align your ears with your inner arms. And breathe. And now let's exhale. As you exhale and straighten your legs, take your buttocks, take your hips backwards. This helps to lengthen and stretch out your spine. And of course, at this point, you're feeling a good stretch also in the backs of your legs. Lift that right leg up in the air. And let's just take a moment and tip it over to the left side and look under your left armpit. Can you see your foot? And then bring it right out and back behind you again. Look at that front right hand. Swing that foot as far forward as you can. Other leg forward. And please let your head hang. Arms beside your ears. Pull your bellies in. Activate your thighs. Inhale, sweeping up. Feet apart for balance. Reach up, look up, and arc back. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, hands in prayer. Exhale, and let's do one more round. They have discovered 12 minutes of yoga a day is just plenty enough to strengthen your immune system. And of course, it's activating everything. Inhale, exhale, hands in prayer. Step your feet apart. Arms up, reach up, look up, and arc back. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, forward fold. And let your head hang. Step your left leg back, drop the knee to the mat. Bring your hands onto that front thigh. Focus your gaze for balance. If you're lifting your knee off the floor, it can stay there. Make sure your shoulders stay over your hips. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Activate your fingertips. Focus your gaze and breathe. Remember, press through that back foot. It is your anchor in this posture. Turn your hands forward. Spread your fingers apart. Front leg goes back. Heart center, thymus gland over your thumbs. Reaching through the crown of your head. looking down at your mat. Breathe. Pull your bellies in. Feel strong. And then release your knees to the mat. Flatten the tops of your feet. Take your buttocks way back. Way back. And then release your forearms and elbows onto the floor and slowly come forward until your chest and chin come down onto the mat. So this really opens up your chest and reduces the hunching or hump that we can get in the upper back if we're not paying attention to our posture. Slide everything out behind you. Line up the edges of your fingertips with your shoulders. Bring your elbows into your side body and press your forearms to the floor. For the fuller expression of Cobra, you may wish to widen your feet and tip your baby toes into the mat, or just leave them straight out behind you, or stay with your baby Cobra. Your choice. Press your hips and pelvis into the mat. Roll an invisible alley to lengthen your neck. On an inhale, start to lift. At first, we don't need our hands, so we're just coming into that baby Cobra. But if you're coming up into the fuller expression, you're pushing the floor away from you, just to the point where your shoulders don't come up around your ears, and keep your elbows in. Don't let them wing out. Allow the curve in the cervical vertebra to continue the curve of the rest of your spine. Eyes are open or closed, but looking up towards Ajna chakra in the center of your forehead. One more inhalation. Exhale. Lower. Lengthen. Ah. Curl your toes under and lift your hips up. Walk your feet a couple of inches forward. Bend your knees. Press your belly onto your thighs. Align your ears with your inner arms. And remember, as you're straightening your legs and pressing your heels onto the floor, take your sits bones back as far as you can. Feel the extra length in your spine. Feel the stretch in the backs of your legs. And now lift your left leg up. Tip it over to the right and look under your right armpit. See if you can see your toes. Take it back up and then look at your left hand and swing that foot as far as you can. Other leg forward. Let your head hang. Arms beside your ears. Pull your bellies in. Engage your thighs. Inhale, sweeping up. Feet apart for balance. Reach up, look up, and arc back. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees a little bit. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, reaching up. Bring your palms together. Exhale to your heart center, and then flat out and relaxing. Have a sip of water if you need. Lie down for a moment to allow the benefits of your performance to be integrated. So it's interesting. When I think of humming, I think of Glenn Gould, who I think most of you probably know, grew up in a house on South Drive, which is an extension of Main Street. So in the beach, Glenn Gould, and it was when he was playing the Goldberg Variations that you can hear him humming in the background. Never heard anybody else play classical music and hum. Okay, so so just breathe, let everything go for a moment, close your eyes, separate the biting surfaces of the teeth, just Check for any tension or stress in the body and breathe into it. And on the exhalation, let it go. So, a couple other things I wanted to mention to you about the healing power of humming and sound is that they are now developing a sinus spray with nitric oxide in the recipe to halt the spread of coronavirus. So, um, so by that humming, you're inhibiting the replication of what we know of as the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. It was declared the molecule of the year in 1992, and then there was an award for a study in 1998. Because the virus lingers in your nasal passages, in the area of the sinuses for days before it goes into your throat and into your lung tissue. And you know what? Humming's nice. So Mary had a little lamb. But they tell you 5 minutes to get that effectiveness. Okay? All righty. On our backs. If shoulder stand is not something you're wishing to do this morning, then of course, remember, you can use your block, place it underneath your sacrum or whatever you have to get up some height and just at least get your legs up in the air. When it comes to immunity and strengthening it, of course, the shoulder stand is enormous. Arms beside your body. Inhale, lift your legs halfway up and over behind your body. Support your hips. And then bring your knees to your forehead, heels to your bum. And then walk your hands up to your waist and slowly straighten your legs. "75% of purified oxygenated blood now bathing everything above the heart. All of your important, not all of them, but most of your important endocrine glands are above your heart. Take your legs wide apart. Slowly and carefully lower them down over behind your head. Inhale, the legs back up. Exhale, legs back down. So when we lower the legs over behind the head, there's a greater compression on the abdominal core region, which helps to squeeze all those organs that are being compressed, squeeze out impurities. The other thing it does, major stretch for your spine. So it can have an effect of creating added height. And then bring your legs back together. And just hold here for a moment in shoulder stand, sometimes referred to as candle pose, because your body is replicating a candle. Sharvangasana is the Sanskrit term for the queen posture of yoga. So getting all that extra blood supply also into your brain. This creates a lock, a bandha at the throat, Jalandhara bandha, squeezing impurities out of your thyroid and your parathyroids. Okay, let's lower both legs down over behind the back and then bring your hands to the floor and slowly, with control, lower your torso and then your legs down onto your mat. Take your heels to the edges of your mat, bring your arms beside your body, lift your upper body off the floor, tilt your head backwards, and bring the crown of your head onto your mat into fish pose, Matsyasana. Again, a lovely, beautiful stretch for the throat. This brings extra blood supply into this area and physically releases any tension from the throat and the neck area. And then lift your head up and come on all the way back down, and just take a moment here to breathe. Bring your heels together. They don't have to literally be together, but bringing them closer together and letting your feet splay out. Turn your palms up in the open and receiving position. Good deep breathing into your bellies. So, you know, there's that expression, sometimes we feel like we need space. Give me some space. To that end, when we practice asana, we're creating space in the body. When we practice meditation, we're giving space in the mind. Our minds can be clogged up with thoughts, feelings, emotions. One quick way to unclog that drain of your energy, if you get my drift, because it does drain energy when we've got a lot of negativity and just a sense of overwhelm. In fact, stress can be defined as feeling a little, well, fear, of course, but feeling a little lost or overwhelmed in the world. And I think today, bring the knees in towards the chest. Once again, just rock from side to side. That's can be the feeling. I mean, many of us have lost work, and I think the loss of being with people and not feeling, you know, at ease with going places, the few places we can still go, clearly that can make us feel a little lost and stressed out in the world today, and not knowing when it's all going to come back to normal. Hopefully it will. Anyway, place your hands underneath the backs of your thighs and rock up to a seated position and come on over onto your bellies. Actually, come on over onto your knees first, because what I really want to do is practice pigeon pose, which we haven't done for a while, but excellent again for hips. So bring your knees underneath your hips, hands underneath your shoulders, lift your hips up into the air, and just come into a nice down dog for a moment. And then let's lift the right leg up into the air. Look at your right hand, and I want you to bring your right knee towards your right wrist. Your cushion or your block, you may wish to place underneath that right hip, and then stretch and look behind you. Stretch your left leg out behind you. And you can just stay here for a moment, because obviously the hip is making an adjustment to this intense stretch. Try to keep your torso, so your shoulders, your chest, and your hips square onto the front of your mat. We've got a nice little back bend here, which helps to purge the adrenal glands of waste and impurities. When we breathe deeply, while we're stretching, because of the stretching and the space in the body, the prana, the life force that's within the oxygen that we breathe. So prana is different than oxygen. That's the life force. Prana equals life force. That now has a chance to flow through your body. Walk your hands forward. Come on down onto your elbows. Now, for some of us, this may be as far as we're going. Again, just make the time to feel. So we're practicing with awareness, respect, and compassion. And then maybe if you make a pillow or stack your fists, you can lengthen your upper body and lower your forehead either onto your fists, or if you made a pillow with your forearms, and some of you may even wish to place your forehead directly onto the mat. Some of you may decide this is too intense and come back into Uh, upper Sphinx pose so that just your forearms are on the floor. Let's everybody come back, place your hands on the floor, remove block or cushion and put it on the other side. Curl your toes under and slowly come back into a downward dog. And let's just walk the dog here. Stretch out, particularly as you straighten the right leg and hip, the one we just worked. Spend a little more time there and then change and come back to neutral. And let's lift the left leg up in the air and look at your left hand. And then bring your left knee towards your left wrist. And look behind you as you straighten your right leg out behind you. Once again, you may wish to add some height under that hip so that you can square the front of your body, lengthening your torso, a gentle back curve. Keeping the chest open and lifted, and then lead with your hearts. Walk your hands forward and bring your forearms onto the mat. So you're partially in Sphinx, but we are practicing pigeon pose, Eka Pada Raja Kapotasana. Okay, I want to ask for forgiveness because anyone who has knee issues, we can be doing this on our backs. So lying on our backs, making those 4 squares, hoping that you know that one because I should have told you right off the top. So if you're lying on your back, you draw your knees up, put your right ankle over top of your left knee and thread your hands between your legs if this is a stress on your knees. Okay, if you wish, lower a little bit further down. Again, stacking your fists to rest your forehead upon, or resting your forehead on your forearms and breathe. Or perhaps your forehead is on the mat and you're stretching your arms out in front. No heroics. A little bit of strain is okay, pain is not. Let's inhale, press up, move the block off to the side. Curl your back toes under and slowly straighten out that left leg. And again, let's walk the dog, stretching out the left leg a lot. And change. And change. And that will do. Walk your feet towards your hands. Keep your knees soft, let your head hang, and let's slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. Okay, and give your legs a little bit of a shakeout. Let's practice Virabhadrasana 1, and we're going to do one breathing exercise before we complete this practice today. Okay, so coming up to the front of your mat, let's step the right leg back about 2.5 to 3 feet. And then just to make it easier for you to keep your hips forward, let's walk that front left foot towards the edge of your mat. So in this case, your left foot is 90 degrees forward and your back foot's about 60 degrees forward. So different than you would for warrior 2. So this is Virabhadrasana or warrior 1. So bend your front leg. Your back foot's still going to be your ankle. Your knee should be tracking over your middle toes. Press into the heel of your back foot. Inhale and sweep the arms up. Arms are straight. Chest is lifted. Fingers are active. Inhale, Straighten your front leg. Now, hopefully your blocks are nearby or your cushion, but we'll just see how we're going to go. Now, I want you to lift up out of your waist once again, and we're going to do a front angle bend, Parsvottanasana. The more you stretch your upper body, the easier it will be to bring your fingers onto your mat. Now, if fingers don't touch your mat, bend your back leg. Bend your back leg, but try to keep the front leg straight. If your block is handy, your two blocks, then you can place your hands on your blocks at whatever height you need. So if you're bending anything, bend your back leg so we can get a good stretch in the hams. But maybe both your legs are straight, and then please let your head hang. Breathe into those hamstrings. Let's bend the front knee, straighten your back leg, sweep the arms up, take your arms behind your back, interlock your fingers, squeezing your shoulder blades or scapulas together, looking up at your ceiling. Exhale, forward fold, humble warrior. Release your arms. Once again, inhale up. Exhale, arms come down, bring your legs together, shake your legs out. Let's do the other side. Stepping your right leg back, left leg, opposite side. Hopefully this is the opposite side. Does it look opposite? Okay, good. Okay, let's bend the front knee. Once again, your knee is directly over your heel, or if you line up your calf with the back of your heel, that's another way that you can gauge that. But be pressing into your back heel. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Shoulders stay down, chest stays open and lifted. So warrior one is quite a bit easier, but some of the variations, straighten their front leg, lift up out of your waist, stretch up, and then reach forward. Both legs are straight until you realize whether or not you need to bend your back leg in order to bring your torso towards your front left thigh. Breathing into your hamstring. Bend that front knee. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Take your arms behind your body. Interlock your fingers. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, forward fold. Arms come up as much as you can. Let your heads hang. Release your arms. And now bring yourself into the center of your mat. Walk your feet out a good distance here. So one leg length, 3.5 feet. Tent your fingers underneath your face. Flatten your back. Inhale, sweep the right arm up. Twist, turn, reach up, stretch up, look up. Feel the stretch in your inner opposite groin, adductor muscle. Exhale, float it down. Inhale, sweep the other one up. Other arm up, that is. Exhale, float it down. Let's lunge over to the left, bringing bum close to heel. Inhale, up and over to the other side. And into the center, walk your feet in. And I'm going to grab my runa. So that's what this is called, a runa. And we're going to practice Kapalabhati just briefly. So last week we practiced Nadi Shodhanan, opposite nostril breathing. It is a calming breath. This is an energizing breath. Lots of benefits for Kapalabhati. Quick description here. Kapala means, my mic came off again. Kapala means skull, and bhati means shining skull, but it's highly energizing. It's cleansing, purifying. So here's the deal. Because it's your lower abdomen, your lower belly that's active, put your hand on your belly, because your inhalation is passive, your exhalation is active. So have a look here, and it's through the nose. So place your hand on your belly and just try this. So this is very active, where your exhalation is active, your inhalation is passive. It's passive because there's a vacuum in your chest, but it's an active exhalation. Okay, so inhale and go ahead. Okay, so if you didn't find that your belly was moving enough, but I'm sure it did, but if it didn't, you can actually use a fist to force, because if you did this, it would force you to exhale. So active, forceful exhalation and passive inhalation. That is Kapalabhati. If you can go outside and do that, or Nadi Shodhana, okay, that's the alternate nostril breathing, or any long, full, deep breathing, you are going to create extraordinary space in your body, release amazing tension, amazing tension. There's nothing amazing about tension, but you'll release a lot of tension. Let's come down onto our backs. I'm going to stay sitting up, but I want you to assume Shavasana, everyone. Feel good about your efforts. If you need to cover yourself with any clothing, socks. If you have an eye bag, I highly recommend these. A little weighted, you could make them. Go online, read about them. You can put mung beans in them. You can put different things in it. You could probably put sand in it. And then if you're a seamstress or you know one, just sew it up. Make yourself an eye bag. That weight and darkness is so calming, grounding when you're in Shavasana. Turn your palms up in the open and receiving position. And just as we begin to wrap up this class, I also wanted to remind you that, the breath is a powerful, powerful tool. You have it, use it to its greatest advantage. Taking fewer breaths, so breathing longer and deeper, prolonging the breath, filling up your lungs, it lowers your blood pressure. Now, your blood pressure is governed by your sympathetic nervous system. That is your fight or flight. So clearly, we get to mitigate, regulate, control our stress responses just by taking longer, deeper, and fuller breathing. So the breath, along with regulation of thoughts, as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of repetitive negative thoughts. If you can regulate these, just become aware of them. There's no blame, shame, anything. We're all the same. We're all in the same boat here. We all go through the same stuff. But because you practice yoga, you're getting tools that you have at your fingertips. Anytime you feel yourself becoming overwhelmed, anxious, even depressed, these are all normal emotions and feelings, but you have ways of restoring your, taking your sympathetic fight or flight into your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can balance, heal, and restore your body, mind, and spirit. So take as long as you like in Shavasana. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest, healing, restoring, balancing, bringing peace and calm to a world that is in flux. It's probably normal. There's always something major going on, but we can control how we react. You have the tools. Use your breath to bring yourself into balance, harmony, and gratitude. As always, it is my honor to share this practice. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.